learning disabilities. What we know about specific learning disabilities is that it is a brain-based disability. Specific learning disabilities occur from neurological differences in the brain structure and function and affect a person's ability to receive, store, process, retrieve, or communicate information. Learning disabilities are not caused by factors such as visual, hearing, or motor disabilities, intellectual disabilities, emotional disturbance, cultural factors, limited English proficiency, environmental or economic disadvantages, or inadequate instruction. The text addresses common types of specific learning disabilities that affect the areas of reading, math, and written expression, which includes dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. Dyslexia is associated with disabilities in reading. Individuals with dyslexia may experience the following: difficulty with phonemic awareness, or the ability to notice, think about, and work with individual sounds and words; difficulty with phonological processing, which includes detecting and discriminating differences in phonemes or speech sounds; and difficulties with word decoding, fluency, rate of reading, rhyming, spelling, vocabulary, comprehension, and written expression. Dyscalculia is associated with disabilities in math. Individuals with dyscalculia may experience the following: difficulty with counting, difficulty with learning number facts and long math calculations, difficulty with measurement, telling time, counting money, and estimating number quantities, or difficulties with mental math and problem-solving strategies. Dysgraphia is associated with disabilities in writing. Individuals with dysgraphia may experience the following: a tight, awkward pencil grip and body position, tiring quickly while writing and avoiding writing tasks or drawing tasks, trouble forming letters, shapes, as well as inconsistent spacing between letters or words. Those with dysgraphia may also experience difficulty organizing thoughts on paper, difficulty keeping track of thoughts already written down, or show evidence of a gap between understanding written ideas and being able to demonstrate that understanding through speech. Other deficits associated with specific learning disabilities include auditory processing deficit, which is a weakness in the ability to understand and use auditory information; visual processing deficit, which is a weakness in the ability to understand and use visual information; and executive functioning deficit, which includes weaknesses in the ability to plan, organize, strategize, remember details, and manage time and space efficiently. In 2016, the North Carolina State Board of Education voted to approve the proposed policy change regarding the definition, evaluation, and identification of students with specific learning disabilities. This change aligns North Carolina policy to current evidence and research and is now implemented in every LEA, or local education agency, across North Carolina as of July 1st, 2020. The changes in this policy includes the following in identifying students with learning disabilities. It prohibits the use of a discrepancy between intellectual disability and achievement by calculating a difference of 15 points or more between academic achievement and measured intellectual ability. It prohibits the use of alternative discrepancy analysis and prohibits the use of pattern of strengths and weaknesses. The new policy requires the use of a student's responsiveness to instruction and scientific research-based intervention through MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support, as a component of the comprehensive evaluation. It continues to require child find and procedural safeguards. It continues to require a full and individual evaluation using multiple sources of data. The policy continues to require data that demonstrates the child was provided appropriate instruction in the general education setting. And the policy also continues to require data-based documentation of repeated assessments of achievement reflecting formal assessment of student progress. These policy changes have been implemented in North Carolina to establish a single consistent process of defining, evaluating, and identifying students with specific learning disabilities, to streamline training, guidance, and coaching. And research does not support the use of the discrepancy model or a pattern of strengths and weaknesses to establish eligibility under the category of specific learning disabilities. The policy changes also provides opportunity for early intervention rather than a wait to fail approach. So this is a shift from the multiple pathways of identifying students with specific learning disabilities to one pathway. The move from relying on the discrepancy model or the alternative to discrepancy model to the focus on RTI, response to intervention. With response to intervention, students receive support through research-based interventions, and educators continue to monitor the student's progress. If the progress monitoring data reflects that the interventions or strategies are unsuccessful, the educators may provide more explicit, intensive, and/or supportive instruction to support the student's progress. The RTI process, or response to intervention process, begins with high quality instruction and universal screening for all students in the general education classroom, and provides struggling learners with interventions to accelerate their rate of learning. Progress monitoring is conducted to assess the student's learning and performance, and from the data collected on the student's response to instruction, educators can make informed decisions about the intensity and the duration of these interventions. So some benefits of the RTI model include earlier intervention and support to the student. No labels are needed for the student to receive assistance. It provides support to other students who need help but who may not be eligible for special education services. And no IQ testing needed for students to receive assistance. So as you're working with a student who may have learning disabilities or who have already been identified as having specific learning disabilities, here are a few questions to reflect on when considering what interventions and instructional strategies are appropriate and promote student success. How long is the intervention provided to allow for success? So it will take more than one session to collect good data on the student's progress with that intervention implemented. Who is providing the intervention? It is important for the professional providing the intervention to be well prepared with appropriate credentials, experience, and training to provide the intervention. How is the intervention provided? The intervention should be provided in a group or in groups that are small enough to maximize the student's learning, provide adequate opportunities for students to respond with feedback, and allow teachers opportunities to individualize or modify instruction to meet their needs, the student's needs. So what does the data suggest? That's another question to reflect on. Is the collection of progress monitoring data valid and reliable? Does the data indicate the intervention is effective, or does it reflect a need for an adjustment or change to the intervention? And are there other factors that may influence the student's response to intervention, such as language proficiency or behaviors? So these are a few questions to consider when selecting appropriate interventions and strategies for your students. To apply what you learned in Chapter 5, go back and review the 3 most frequently used definitions and reflect on the similarities and differences between the definitions. And when I mention the 3 most frequently used definitions, I am referring to the federal definition of learning disabilities and the alternative definitions of learning disabilities by the National Joint Committee on Learning Disabilities, or the NJCLD, and that of the American Psychiatric Association, or APA. So as you identify the similarities and differences between those definitions, think about why there are different definitions of learning disabilities. What purpose does each definition serve? So this activity is not required. It's not a required assignment, but it is an opportunity to challenge your thinking and understanding of the content presented in Chapter 5.